Have you ever wanted to listen to two random dudes on the internet talk about their views?
Well, I'm Matt.
And I'm Bill.
And this is the Two Dudes with a View podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Two Dudes with a View podcast. Just a quick introduction of myself. My name is Matt. I'm going to be one of the co-hosts here today. I'm joined by my lovely, lovely friend from down under in New York and Pennsylvania. Bill, how's it going?
Oh, it's not going too bad.
Well, we're, like I said, this is the first episode of Two Dudes with a View podcast. Myself and Bill have known each other for... Oh, how many years now? I can't.
Three-ish, four-ish, yeah.
Somewhere in that range. And one thing about both of us is we do have a very common interest and theme, and that is we speak what we think. There's not a huge filter on either one of us. And 9 out of 10 times we will argue until one of us is completely right or completely wrong. And that's just the way they are, you know?
It's what makes it work.
Exactly. So we've gone back and forth for years about topics, and you know, we decided why not bring it to you guys and let you guys in on the conversation and join in and maybe, you know, side with myself or side with Bill or side with both of us, neither of us, and just bring your interests, your topics, your thoughts into this conversation. You know, these are everything we're going to be covering it's real world. It's up to date, happening either that day or just happened or might be happening in the future. And it's some of the biggest news stories in the world. So on today's show,
groundbreakers.
Yeah, real groundbreakers. We got a couple of those tonight too. So on today's show, we're going to be covering a couple topics, all of which are very current topics, and some more than others are, you know, earth-changing and affect the entire world. Others, you know, affect some of us that enjoy, you know, some football on Sunday night. So we're going to have the latest NFL news for you, including some trades, some pretty big trades that affect both me and Bill. We're going to be talking about what's going on out in Colorado. There's some more danger, like always, out there. It seems like every week they're in the news. We're going to be talking about something that no one can avoid right now, and that's the Russia and Ukraine conflict that's affecting a lot of people over there. We're going to be talking about probably the most famous slap ever heard on live TV, and I say heard because you could really hear it. That's Will Smith slapping the crap out of Chris Rock. And then we're gonna wrap it up with, you know, some Supreme Court nominations and what's going on in a little bit of U.S. history here. So, you know, it's gonna be a fun night. Got a lot going on, and I'm excited to jump in.
And the beers are cold.
They are, you know. So yeah, what are you drinking tonight? Not paid promotion.
Budweiser.
Oh,
Budweiser. They don't pay me, but I ride the pony, buddy. I love the pony.
I just got some iced tea tonight, and I need it. I'm getting over a little bit of a sinus infection, so, you know, flushing out the system.
Yeah, well, hey.
You know,
to each their own, right?
Well, you know what? I'm telling you, Budweiser, not necessarily Budweiser, but like the Bud Light crap. You know where they sell that? Besides literally every convenience store in the world.
I was gonna say Sheetz up the road has it. That's where I get it.
I was gonna say the Bill Stadium.
Oh, Buffalo, huh? Yeah. Speaking of Buffalo, geez, what about Von Miller?
Oh boy, yeah. So
what?
Let's jump into this. So NFL trades. It's free agency. I'm pretty sure it's I think the signing day is over with, isn't it?
I think it was. It was like a last minute nobody thought was going to happen trade that all of a sudden happened.
So I'm I was born a Buffalo fan. I'm still a Buffalo fan. I actually do stuff for the Bills. I'm on their drum line and whatnot. So I spend a lot of time in and around the stadium and whatnot. Enjoy the team. Love going to games. And let me say, when I saw that Von Miller was signed for a 6-year deal to Buffalo, I don't know if ecstatic is the right word or just crazy to describe my emotion that just came over. It was I didn't expect it. I don't think you expected it either, did you?
Well, I'm a Dolphins fan. Let's get that right out in the open. So I've come to terms with like our future. It usually is not very bright. So when the Dolphins can't make it, I root for Buffalo.
Well, that's the only option because Patriots.
Yeah, I'm
can't
not
get
rooting
in.
for the Patriots, even though Brady's not there no more. They have no room in my heart for anything. But just the fact that Buffalo, first off, Von Miller said that he thought he was getting traded or getting drafted to Buffalo at the beginning of his career.
Yeah, and that's, this is a while ago for me at least. But yeah, I do remember when Von Miller was getting drafted and whatnot, and he thought he was going to Buffalo. A couple people back then thought they were going to Buffalo, and none of them ended up. But he said the day he signed the contract, it's a 6-year contract for like $120 million, which is ridiculous for a linebacker. But when he signed,
now, how much of that's guaranteed, though? How much of that $120 million is guaranteed?
I don't know the exact number, but if I had to guess, I mean, it's close to that 100 mark. It's got to be for someone that just came off winning a Super Bowl, 2 months ago?
That's what blew my mind. Like, how did that happen?
He's got two Super Bowls under him, one under Denver, and obviously the most recent one with the Rams. But for him to go from winning a Super Bowl a month and a half ago to being signed is ridiculous. You brought this up before we started, but you would think the Rams would say, well, we just won a Super Bowl, right? We clearly had what's going on. It was a good game, close game. We came out on top. Do you think we got to keep this person because they were a nice weapon for us? Like, I don't understand the Rams' decision making here of not re-signing him.
Especially his history. I mean, it seems like wherever he plays, they win a Super Bowl. So good on you guys for getting him. I just did the math, but I'm not great at math, so I had to use the calculator. But at $120 million, if none of that's guaranteed and that's just laid out, which I'm sure there's guaranteed to try to get around the salary cap, but that would equal $20 million a season and or $1.17 million a game.
And like, that's just guaranteed. That's not including bonuses. I haven't read his contract yet, mainly because I don't like reading. So, it's long for me in big words, but I guarantee with him, there's bonuses in there. There's all kinds of incentives. So even if, say, 100 million of it's guaranteed, right?
Right.
With all these incentives that are probably in there, I mean, even 100 million, you can be at that 120 mark with just incentives.
Yeah.
In other Buffalo news, you got powerhouse Josh Allen, right? Like, they're building this offensive line, which they need to. They need to give him more time. But I was disappointed when I saw that Mitch Trubisky, who was the backup quarterback for the Bills the past couple of years, he got sent to the Steelers for like a 2-year deal. But in return, Matt Barkley, he's coming back to Buffalo for to be Allen's backup. And as much as I like the chemistry between Josh and Mitch, and they thought a lot alike. Matt Barkley, he's a good second person to have up there. Even if he's just going to be, Allen doesn't come out much, right? Let's be honest, he's in every game unless something happens and it's a blowout, and they might throw the second string in for the third or fourth quarter if they have to, just to give him a little bit of a break. But Allen doesn't come out much, so even if it's just getting some experience under a clearly very talented quarterback, I think Matt Barkley is going to be a nice backup for him.
Yeah, that's something that I thought when I seen that too. I'm like, Josh Allen is aside from the fact that Brady's hot on, hot, cold, on, off, he's retired one day, he's back the next. Either way, I think no matter what. But right now, aside from Patrick Mahomes, I would say Josh Allen is probably the top of the NFL. Like,
and I would agree with that. I'm not a Chiefs fan. I haven't been. I never have. I probably never will. But I do give credit to Patrick Mahomes, and I think that showed in that playoff game that happened this past year that really could have been the Super Bowl. Honestly, was better than the Super Bowl at times. But both Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, they can find ways to get rid of the ball and score points while they're doing it. I mean, we saw numerous times Josh Allen throw the ball through 3-4 defenders right into the end zone. And then we saw, Patrick Mahomes do the exact same thing while getting pushed out and tiptoeing on the sideline. Both of them, very strong players, very strong quarterbacks, and really know and have that knowledge of the game to be able to find plays and make their own, even when the ones that are called aren't necessarily working for them right away.
Well, the one thing that I think Josh Allen has probably head and shoulders above anybody else is, all right, you got Patrick Mahomes. He's like the Where's Waldo quarterback, right? He can run and go 15 yards one direction and throw the ball 90 yards the next. But then you have Josh Allen, who can throw the ball on a dime.
Yeah, and that's why I like specifically Josh Allen is, if he gets into a pinch, which oftentimes he does, and that's why I think the Bills have to build up this offensive line. If he gets into a pinch, he has the ability to get out of the pocket and still make a big play. There's been numerous times where, he's on the 30-yard line and then all of a sudden, he's got to get out of the pocket and he's getting pushed back and he just launches one down or he makes, himself, he's got huge legs. He makes a big run and then all of a sudden, we're across midfield and, a first down. And some of the 4-point fourth down conversions I've seen from him, he can really make plays when he needs to and stand up and say, no, this is not over. It's still my turn. I still got a chance, and we're still going to do this.
And now he's got Von Miller.
Exactly. He's got Von Miller, which is going to it's going to make this entire offense for the Bills just that much better.
Yeah, Von Miller's the kind of guy that will go down with the quarterback.
Exactly. And, there was someone else, too, that I thought was, not that I thought, that is, and would take a hit, even though they're not a lineman or a linebacker, and that's Tyreek Hill. Okay, like, he, even as, a wide receiver who half the time it's way downfield, he's still there in case he's needed, right? And, that played a huge role in that playoff game between the Chiefs and the Bills. But now all of a sudden, like, he's in the Dolphins.
Go Miami.
Like, that was another thing I literally woke up to, and I'm like, wait, this has to be a typo, right? You're talking about another Hill. You're not talking about Tyreek from the Chiefs, right? Now, traded to the Dolphins. Traded for some picks.
Picks, yeah, fuck them picks.
Yeah, like, picks can be useful if you have to put a team together that you kind of need a little bit of everything, which the Chiefs really don't, to be honest. I mean, the Dolphins, they need a couple things, right? But they're clearly getting there. I mean, they got Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that was, I don't know that I was ready for that when that happened.
I don't know. I mean, I think, your quarterback down there he's got some targets now. He's got the ability to throw the ball, get rid of it if he needs to, but I don't know if it's going to be enough for him. The Dolphins had a pretty good, the Dolphins had a pretty good record.
This is make or break for him.
I honestly do too. He's had, how many years has he been with the Dolphins? It's got to be it's a couple now at least, right?
I believe he got drafted in 2019.
So if he was in 19, so he had the 19 season, the 20 season, which really didn't happen. So he's got 3 seasons under him, really.
Right, and you also got to consider he had Fitzpatrick, Fitzmagic, Mr. Fitzpatrick, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, well, I mean, Fitzmagic, like, I don't know what's up with him, but, you know, he, Fitzpatrick he's one of those where, throughout every team he's played on, there's been some good moments, there's been some bad moments. It's kind of like, when he puts his mind to it, he can make good plays. When he doesn't, he's just kind of, But I think, Tugboat Tallulah down there, as we commonly refer to him as, he's got 3 seasons under him. And at this point, this is kind of his make or break. If he doesn't, he's got a weapon. He's got Tyreek Hill, who can clearly make big plays. We've seen it before. We saw it in probably the best playoff game we will ever see in the NFL, at least to this date. But when it comes to Tugboat, at this point, he's got to make or break a season, make or break the season with Tyreek Hill and the weapons that he's getting. I think the Dolphins, they had a pretty good record last year. It wasn't horrible, wasn't the best. Didn't make the playoffs, didn't make the wild card round, but, we don't talk about that now, do we, Bill?
No, we keep that one quiet.
And some other, I'm just looking at the list that I got here. There's been some major trades and signings the past couple weeks during free agency here. Just to name a few, not that I think it matters a whole lot, but Deshaun Watson from the Browns to the Texans, to the Browns from the Texans. The Browns, we haven't heard a whole lot about them. They've had some good games in the past couple years. Just kind of common at this point that they haven't had a really good startup season. Do I think Deshaun Watson's the full answer? No. I think he might help, though.
What about Baker?
Well, I don't know. We'll see. Everyone says, what about Baker every year, and then we don't get a whole lot out of him, right? I think they're going to experiment a little and say, we're gonna mess around with Deshaun Watson here, put him in and see how he does. He's got he's got plenty of experience under him, and I think
he's also got a lot of baggage.
He does, agreed. But honestly, most players do. Especially quarterbacks. If anything goes wrong on that offensive side of the game, it's everyone blames the quarterback.
Well, I mean, he has that legal stuff too, right? Like
he does have the legal stuff. And I was reading up on that earlier. I don't have full knowledge, so I'm not going to cover much of it, but he does have the legal stuff that he is trying to get through at this point, and that is another thing that could be affecting him on the field, whether it be just performance or mental performance as well. That takes a lot out of someone. A couple other things that I saw. The Bills have really wind down their roster. We're talking running back Matt Beretta, who I was super impressed with being, first year at the Bills. Super impressed with. I would like to see him stay. Fortunately, he went to the Giants, which, I kind of expected. Our offensive coordinator, Brian DeBoer, got hired by the Giants as their new head coach. I was kind of expecting some of these guys that maybe second, third string, only had a year contracts, whatever. We're going to migrate over to the Giants and become some weapons for them. We'll see how that develops, and Matt's one of them. Joe Feliciano, offensive lineman, went to the Giants as well. I wasn't a huge fan of him. I think he had some great work for the Bills and did some great stuff, but we'll see. The Giants, we haven't heard much about them either, and who knows how long. So maybe
since Manning went away.
Exactly. So maybe we got some weapons going over there, and they might be someone to look out. The Giants also got former Bills quarterback Tyrod Taylor. Got him from the Texans for a 2-year deal. It's like a $10 or $11 million deal. We'll see how that plays out. Tyrod Taylor, he's got some baggage playing wise coming from him, so we'll see how that goes. And then Washington Commanders, Redskins, whatever you want to call them.
Redskins. We're going to call them the Redskins.
They got quarterback Carson Wentz from the Colts.
How many teams has he played for?
I think like 5 or 6 at this point. So,
well, he was Philly's golden boy at one time.
He was Philly's golden boy. He went to the Colts at one point. Now he's on the Commanders, Redskins, whatever drama you want to call out of that.
They're still going to be the Washington Redskins.
They always will be. There's never getting back. And then I want to say
they're woke.
One final thing here. You know, in all the trades, signings, moves, everything we've seen in free agency, you know, we saw, again, like you started this segment off with, you know, we saw Tom Brady was retired at the end of this year, came back,
second time in 3 years.
Yeah, unretired yet again. He's coming back playing another season with the Bucs. But breaking news today, as of, you know, we're recording this on Wednesday, March 30th. It'll come out on Monday. And as of today, Bruce Arians, the head coach that took them to a Super Bowl last year at their home stadium, won. And he's retiring from coaching. He's not going to be the head coach anymore. He's taking a front office job as a senior consultant for football, whatever that means.
Yeah, I was going to say, what the hell is that?
You know, I think they could have just called him a senior consultant, to be honest. The Bucs don't do anything other than football, right? I'm not missing something, right? No.
Yeah, no.
He's just, they should have just called him a senior consultant. Again, I don't know what that means. I guess his new project is going to be focusing on draft day and whatnot, so maybe he's going to be like a scouting assist. I don't know, but we'll see. And that comes just in time, as Brady said, he's unretiring for yet another time to come back and try to win it again. So
yeah, but Buddy got a hell of a promotion, didn't he? Like,
I guess I haven't looked into it too much because, quite frankly,
he said just 2 weeks ago, if Brady retires or if Brady comes back, we'll never trade him.
Yep. So I don't know. But,
and now he's the senior consultant for what the hell is that?
So the current defensive coordinator, Todd Bowles, is going to be becoming the new head coach down in Tampa Bay.
He got a hell of a promotion too.
He did, yeah. You know, we'll see who ends up running that. Whether Brady ends up, you know, becoming the head coach, Bowles. You know, I honestly, when I saw the headline and Brady said he was unretiring, I thought there was a little conspiracy in there. But hey, proven wrong. So we'll see. You know,
Brady's running out of fingers and the Bucs are running out of time.
Pretty much. That sounds about right.
Like if the Buccaneers want to win a Super Bowl, Brady is their ticket. Nothing against anybody else on that team, but you got Brady or you got Gronkowski, and I don't know if Gronk came back or not. Did he ever retire?
I haven't seen anything on him. I think he's just kind of laying low at the moment. I suspect now that we've seen Brady come back, we'll probably see Gronk, but who knows at this point? I mean, I know Buffalo was looking at Gronk. Gronk was looking at Buffalo. There was a couple teams looking at him, so we'll see. Like I said, I haven't heard anything on him.
Just so Gronk knows that Miami's not too far from Tampa Bay.
No, it is nice and warm down there. I'll give you that. Moving on, in further NFL news, something that I specifically...
oh yeah, oh boy.
After screaming at my TV for countless minutes going back and forth during this playoff game that I've talked so much about already today, there are new overtime rules in playoff games for the NFL. Now, let me be clear here. The original rule that was proposed, it was proposed by the Eagles, and I think the Colts were the other team. That it would change every game, regular season and postseason, to allow each team one possession automatically. So even if the first team scores, the second team would have a chance to score and tie it again or outscore them. And then it would also add the sudden death rule, which is essentially the normal overtime rules currently. However, that was amended. Regular season games will be remaining the same for overtime. Winner, you know, we don't have to declare a winner in regular season games. They can end in a tie, so they're going to continue to do that. However, postseason games, where it counts, where we can't have a tie, right? I mean, I would love to have a tie, but we can't. the new rules are going to apply, and that means first possession, one team, they're going to coin flip. Whoever gets it, gets it. Each team's going to get a possession, no matter what. So, say the Bills and the Dolphins are playing. Dolphins get the ball first. They go down, kick a field goal, get 3 points. The Bills automatically get a possession again. They go down. They can kick a field goal and tie it. They can throw a touchdown and win. Whatever happens. After each possession, if no one has won, it's still tied, no one scored, whatever, then sudden death rules apply like normal, and it's the next person to score, the next team to score. That's it. It can be a field goal. It can be a touchdown. It can be any points that are scored at that point. Sudden death rules, which, personally, as a Bills fan who felt sad that in overtime Josh Allen didn't get a possession.
I would just like to point this out real quick, because I think that Buffalo should have won that game. Okay. But the person that cost Buffalo that game is now a Miami Dolphin.
Yeah, well, have fun. That's all you. It's your problem now.
That's the 10-mile man. That guy runs 10 miles every play.
We'll see. We might shut you down, though. You never know.
Well, you know what I mean? There's an old saying, one brick don't build a house, so...
Nah, but it's the mortar between them that holds it together.
Yeah, well, we got Tugboat, so let's hope that he can be as accurate as he's supposed to be.
We'll see. As someone who wished Buffalo would have won that game, I support these rules. I think this is fair. Each team gets a possession. After that, there's no crazy rules. It's just going back to normal. I support that. I don't. I have
a problem with it.
What do you got?
My problem is, why does it have to be postseason only? Why can't it be the whole year?
I would agree with you on that. The only thing is, like postseason, like I said, you can't have a tie in postseason, so we got to break it somehow. All year you can have a tie. It doesn't. Playoff standing wise, if you're on the cusp of a wild card, it can affect you a little, but.
Okay, so let's, as an NFL, let's get rid of the tie and say there has to be a winner.
I am all for that. I support
and why that. Why I think it's not fair is, all right, Miami and Buffalo are playing, right? And you guys, we're in the same division. You guys have one game up on us. We're playing you guys now, and tie. So now it's like the game never took place. And then a week later, you play New England and beat New England. Now you take that one step up in the AFC East. Well, that game against Buffalo could have helped Miami, for instance, or any other team throughout the league. Yep. So I think if you're going to make it a postseason only rule, just make it a rule for the whole season, because these players are going to be like, all right, so during the normal season, fuck it, let's just play. Yeah. But in the postseason, now we got to start actually trying to win.
Yeah, I agree with you that the tie, we got to get rid of it. At this point.
And what they say the rule here is something like, if you score a touchdown and go for 2, the other team gets one possession to do the same. Exactly. So does that mean if at the beginning of the game, technically, if I'm kicking to you, if Miami's kicking to Buffalo, as soon as that ball leaves the kicker's foot, it is Buffalo's ball.
Correct.
But if it's an onside kick and Miami retrieves it,
then it's Miami's,
Then it's Miami's, and they go down and score a field goal. Technically, you lost your chance at a comeback because the ball was intended for you in the first place.
I don't know how they're going to work that out. That's a good point that you brought up. I would assume that they're still going to give Buffalo possession because it was an onside kick and obviously recovered by you, so it wasn't in our possession at any point. But I don't know. That's something that should be brought up or should have been brought up, and they might have already covered that at some point.
I hope they thought it through, because I think it was one of the teams put in I don't know if you remember this or not, but it used to be the first person to score in overtime won.
Yeah,
didn't matter what it was.
Yep.
I feel like it was the Texans or somebody. I could be wrong.
It sounds familiar that you said the Texans. I don't know exactly, but Yeah, I do remember something about that.
Yeah, like they that was part of their proposal was, why don't we just go back to when it worked?
Yeah.
You know, if you kick off and I'm kicking to you and you run down and score a touchdown and my defense didn't stop you, that's on us. We lost.
Yep.
First team to score points, whether it's a field goal, a safety, a touchdown, whatever. Points are points. First team to score points wins. If they're not going to do that, then let's take a page from the NBA's playbook and say, you got quarter 5, 15 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, that would be the only thing, you know, if I could sit down and make the rule and everyone would approve of it, it would be we're adding a quarter, essentially. The overtime is going to be a normal quarter. Normal rules apply, right? At the end of that
make it
quarter,
a Madden quarter. Go 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes.
Yeah. At the end of that, if there's no winner, we just add a 6th one, right? You know, I agree with you that the tie needs to go bye-bye, and you know, it's affecting people more. You know, back in the even early 2000s, right? The tie really didn't mean a whole lot because it wasn't happening much.
When you knew Brady was going to win, so what the hell was the point?
Exactly. But it wasn't happening much, right? These teams weren't as developed. We weren't going into 2 overtimes and saying, well, we're still tied. Neither of us can score, or we both can score, and yet we're still tied. Like, you know,
I think the competition committee, first off, I have a problem with the competition committee because I don't think the competition committee should include current coaches.
I agree.
And there are current coaches on the competition committee. That means these people are making rules or proposing rules that the NFL has to pass. And in order for the NFL to pass a rule, I think it is 24 teams have to vote in favor of this rule,
correct,
whatever the change will be.
Yep.
You should not be, the competition committee should include a fan vote. Like, the fans should have, that's their revenue.
Exactly. And, you know, going into the next point here in a minute about, you know, the new stadium that Buffalo's getting, you know, the fans have a huge play in all this, right? They're the ones that, specifically in this case, are paying for most of it. They're going to be there watching the games. They're spending their money on overpriced hot dogs and beer. You know, all of this is not possible. You know, regular games, postseason games, the Super Bowl, none of that is possible without fans. And, you know, while it doesn't necessarily affect the fans who are, you know, your team loses, you're going to have a horrible Monday, you know, because your friend's going to laugh at you and point
Unless
at you.
you're a Dolphins fan, then you're used to it.
Oh, yeah. At that point, you just drink another beer and go to bed. But, you know, it doesn't affect them like it does player salaries and whatnot, that's a whole different story. They get paid millions of dollars anyways, but we can
I think they get paid way too much for what they do because right now, at this point, the way they have the rules set up in the NFL, it is a glorified ballerina act with pads.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't hit him in the head. That's targeting.
Yeah,
you can't hit the quarterback after he throws the ball, even though you've committed to the quarterback, and you can't stop yourself. These rules are so. It's not football anymore.
Exactly.
They have ruined the game of football by making these rules. I understand. You have to last this amount of time, and you know you sign this player to
6 years,
5 years,
$20 million like Von Miller.
Yeah, I get it. You're trying to protect the player. But the player knows what they're getting into.
We should boycott football and just bring rugby back.
No, I'm going to have to disagree with you there because that, honestly, anybody that is a fan of rugby, that is the goofiest sport ever. I don't know what if I'm watching. I don't know what I'm watching when I watch rugby. If I watch rugby, are they playing football? Are they playing soccer? Because they run down the field, then they kick it or they pass it, and then but there's no flags. And they get into a big circle and somebody drops the ball in the middle and they all jump on it and see who gets it. That game is so confusing.
Speaking of circles, let's circle back here for a minute and talk about this new Buffalo Bills stadium.
Yeah, holy hell. They are not shy on the price tag of that, are they?
They're not, but one thing I mentioned was if we look at the prices of like SoFi Stadium, yeah, I understand SoFi, it's hosting 2 teams. It's in downtown LA, so it's obviously in a higher density area, more populated, in a higher tax bracket. There's just so much more out there. They're going to be part of the Olympics when it comes to LA in a couple of years. That was like over $5 billion. For Buffalo and the state and the county of Erie to make an agreement on a $1.4 billion stadium, that's actually huge.
Say that again. 1.4 what?
Billion with a B.
Billion with
Yep.
a B.
Yeah. So it's 1.4. It's a $1.4 billion price tag to build a new stadium. They're going to build it directly across the street from the current one. There's a bunch of parking lots out there. It's going to be right next to actually the college that's out there.
Hell, the old stadium could become a parking lot.
I'm guessing it will. They haven't mentioned what they're going to say they're going to do with it, but they did say though that renovating the current stadium would cost $1 billion itself. So, if that number is accurate, and both of these numbers are accurate, it is obviously a better return on investment to just build the new stadium. It's only $400 million. I'm saying it's only $400 million, but we're talking NFL here, right? We're
Right,
talking
so hold
the
on.
state and
What is Buffalo playing right now? What's the stadium they play in?
Highmark Stadium.
Highmark Stadium. When was that built?
Oh, I don't even know. It's been through so many name
the old Google
changes.
monster.
It's been through so many name changes. I don't even know.
It's like Miami. It was Joe Robbie Stadium, Pro Player Stadium, Camping World Stadium, Dolphin Stadium. I don't even know what the hell it is now.
Yeah. So it was built in 1973. It's 49, almost 50 years old. Been through, like you said, numerous names. New Era Field. Let's see, New Era Field. Then it was the Buffalo Bills Stadium. Now it's Highmark Stadium. It was something about Blue. I don't know at this point. It was the Ralph for the longest time.
If you look at even them trying to retrofit the stadium to today's technology, you're looking at millions and millions of dollars. So 1.4 billion.
They said to fully, there's parts of it that are deteriorating quite a bit, especially on the top layers. They said to fix everything that's essentially wrong with it, update it and renovate it, it would be $1 billion price tag. So, like I said, $400 million. It's a lot of money to me, you, or any other normal person. But when we're talking NFL here, that's not a lot, especially when the NFL is giving Buffalo, the owners, $200 million in a loan.
I was about to say, you say $400 million is a lot. Hell, $400 at this point is a lot.
Yeah, so here's the price breakdown, and while we're working on this, $114 billion price tag, $850 million of that is coming from the state of New York and the county of Erie, which obviously the Buffalo Bills Stadium's in, so it's all taxpayer-based money. Now, at first when I heard that, I'm like, well...
That's a lot, $850 million.
I'm like, we're paying for this. I'm a Bills fan, but we're paying for this. But here's my thing, right? This $850 million in public funding from the state and from the county, I don't know the exact breakdown of who's providing what. They haven't released that yet. But they're guaranteeing a 30-year lease, meaning that stadium will be good for at least 30 years. It'll keep Buffalo Bills in Buffalo for at least 30 years. And they're calling it an Ironclad contract, meaning, from what I take from that, is there's not a way that they're getting out of this in case something goes wrong.
Well, yeah, well, as a businessman, I can tell you what ironclad means in a contract. Ironclad means is once you put pen to paper, whatever definition is in that contract, that's what you get.
Yep.
There is no changing it. Nobody can back out of it. Nobody can alter it. The only way you could do that is with both parties agreeing to it. And if I'm part of an ironclad contract and I'm a beneficiary of it, I ain't changing a thing.
Exactly. So $850 million coming from public funding. Like I said, $200 million loan coming from the NFL that the Bills will have to pay back eventually. I think it was over 25 years is the max that they can take. They'll have that in a couple of years. And then the owners of the Bills, Kim and Terry Pegula, are contributing at least $350 million of their own money and obviously the Bills' money to the stadium construction. On top of that, they're paying an additional $50 million to the NFL for reimbursement up front. And then
are they reimbursing them $50 million of the $200 million they're loaning them?
Correct. Right up front. It's kind of like a down payment, essentially.
Right.
And then on top of that, the owners and the Bills will be responsible for any costs over that $1.4 billion. So if it runs $1 million more, you either leave it unfinished or you got to pay the bill, the owners. Sorry, that's just the way it is. The stadium, here's what I got. The stadium's going to hold 60 to 62,000 people, seat-wise. It's not going to have a roof, although those seats will be about 80% covered by a partial roof, kind of like some of the stadiums we've seen in the past few years, like the Falcons Stadium and whatnot. It's going to be a grass field, not a turf field, which I'm not a fan of. But
no, I'd rather grass because when I played high school football. Now I'm not going to date myself, but that was a long ass time ago.
Yes,
and
it was.
I played on a turf field once, and I thought my ankle was broken by the time I got there because turf doesn't give like grass does.
The only reason I say I don't like grass over turf, we live in New York, right? I live in New York. The Bills are in New York. We get a lot of snow. We get a lot of changing weather. The ground, when it freezes, it freezes, it doesn't give much either.
Yeah, but that's really not an excuse. If they're going to spend $1.4 billion, they can
put heating in the damn thing.
Yeah, put heating under the...
Or better yet, put a freaking roof on it.
Yeah, that's the better solution.
But
I know there's some teams out there that have those. Well, they're like, you ever see a hockey rink? How they have the weird zigzags underneath it to help keep the ice froze?
Yeah. Yep.
They have something similar to that helps keep the grass warm.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, we'll see. And then, like I said, it's gonna be built directly across the street, creating roughly 10,000 unionized jobs. So. Overall, I think it's going to be good. Construction's supposed to start in spring of 2023, so just coming up, and should be open before the 2026 season. They're saying so.
I can tell you one thing: this stadium will not host any. Vince McMahon won't be calling.
No, it will not be hosting a Super Bowl. It does not.
It won't be hosting no WrestleManias. I can tell you that because 60 to 62,000 people. Vince is looking for 100,000. So.
Yep. Yeah, so they are short in their current total. They are adding in a 5,000 person standing area, but even then, I mean, you're only at like 67,000 people. That's not a whole lot.
Good on them though. That's like I hope that when they do it, obviously these are the plans, right? 1.4 billion. I heard 1.4 billion. I heard 1.6 billion. Either way, once you start adding a B to the word,
it's apples and oranges at that point.
Yeah, it's apples and oranges at that point. So, but hopefully, while they're mid-construction or going through it, they say, "Oh, well, you know what? Let's just add this and this. It's only an extra 100,000 or 100 million or whatever."
Exactly.
But hopefully, they do it and they get it right.
We'll see. I'm optimistic about it. I think it's time for a new stadium, but we'll see. Moving forward into some of the other things, that getting away from NFL into more of the serious topics. There's been a lot of things going on in Colorado the past couple months. We've seen numerous things. Actually,
they seem to be getting the shitty end of the stick there.
They do. Just recently, actually, the Denver's Broncos Stadium. This was like last week. Caught fire. So. Even they're not safe, but specifically Boulder County. We saw last year they had the shooting in Boulder, in the city of Boulder, that took the life of Officer Talley and I think 7 others, somewhere around there.
Yeah, hold on. Can I just stop there? First off, why the hell are y'all shooting cops?
Yeah,
I don't get it. Like, you want to argue and complain that the cops are the bad guys, but who's the first people you call when something goes wrong?
Exactly.
The cops.
Yep.
Why are you fucking with them? Let them alone. Support them.
Exactly. So the city of Boulder saw that end of last year, and then going into December, actually, December 31st, New Year's Eve, into New Year's Day, they saw the largest fire in Boulder County history. Actually, 2 fires: the Marshall Fire and the I can't think of the name off the top of my head. The Middle Fork Fire. So they saw these 2 fires. It was 6,000 plus acres, one of the largest fires in Colorado history. They lost like 500 homes, displaced a ton of people. And then just last week, end of last week, early this week, hit with yet another fire. Take this, just miles away from both fires that occurred in December and January. This one, not as bad, only about 190 acres, yet still causing mass panic, with it being that close to the previous fires, a lot of PTSD came about. That was their biggest concern. Wasn't necessarily losing homes right away. It was taking care of the people that literally just lost everything, are now in a new home, in a hotel, living with family, and now they're getting evacuated again for another fire.
If you live in Boulder, Colorado, and you're in fear for your life, don't try to be smart. Don't think you're being tough. Get the hell out.
Yeah,
your shit could be replaced. Don't die because of this. This is crazy.
They always say take the important things. Medication, important documents like passports, birth certificates, stuff like that. The necessities. Obviously take your pets, take that type of stuff. Just get out. Some of these things you only have minutes, really only minutes, and with things, spreading as quickly as we saw in the Marshall and Middle Fork fires, up to 6,000 acres in just a couple days. That's a lot.
That's a lot of acres.
And now, we have this, they're calling it the NCAR fire, NCAR fire. It's 190 acres. Luckily today I got an update. It's roughly 90% contained, still active fires, still active fronts. But they do say that wet weather between some rain and a little bit of snow helped them a lot. But overall, still 8,000 people evacuated from their homes. Businesses, schools had to cancel. Luckily, no structures have been lost. So I praise all the firefighters and first responders out there for doing a great job. No structures damaged, no deaths or injuries reported. So I think I think overall it's doing good, but man, they've seen a lot out there recently.
Yeah, that's if that fire and shit is close to you, get your shit now and get out. Don't wait till it's the last minute. Don't think that the wind's going to shift. Just get your stuff and get the hell out.
Yeah, wildfires are dangerous. Any sort of fire is dangerous and presents huge aspects of safety hazards. So, we'll see what happens over there, and hopefully they get a break. The city and county of Boulder has really seen some issues.
Yeah, well, I mean, you want to talk about issues. There's no issue bigger than what's going on up in Ukraine. These guys, I don't know what happened that led to this. I mean, I have my theories, and y'all might not agree with me, but I think when 45 was there, this shit wouldn't have happened. But as they're going to lie and say, oh, it was training exercise, and then send these poor young kids in there. Ukraine, if you can't support them, there's something wrong. Because you ain't fighting their army, you're fighting them. You're fighting grandma with a Molotov cocktail. And good for them for what they did. I seen in the news, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that Ukraine seized more Russian tanks than they had in their military to start out with. That's pretty impressive. Plus, these people don't know why they're there. They thought they were there because Ukraine was the aggressor. And now they're finding out that maybe not so much. And I don't know. I've heard the whole thing, that Putin is trying to push Biden's buttons. Well, I think everybody in the world is trying to push Biden's buttons. But I also think that, there's the rumor that Putin found out that he has some kind of like cancer or something where he's dying and he's trying to make a statement. I don't subscribe to this whole theory that Putin's trying to reform the Soviet Union, because that'll never happen ever again.
Oh, no, definitely not.
But, the Ukrainians, if your heart can't bleed for them, then you don't have one. These guys are out there trying their damnedest and doing a really good job against a supposed world power to defend their homeland.
I am so impressed with the Ukrainians. Do I believe that, like you said, do I believe this whole Soviet Union stuff? No, I don't. I think that, I subscribe to the idea. I actually subscribe to two ideas here and how this whole thing started. The first one is that I think Putin got some bad news and said, hey, listen, time's coming. And I think he took that and said, well, if I'm going, others are going too. But I think the bigger one that I subscribe to, like I said, I subscribe to both, but, in general, there's been conflict in Russia and Ukraine forever. We all know this.
Well, the whole Crimea thing too. Yeah,
Exactly. There's been issues over there for a while, and Ukraine wanted to join NATO and wasn't given a solid answer. Said, we'll think about it at some point, right?
Honestly, speaking of NATO, let me just say that. Oh boy, I'm probably going to get in trouble for this one, but I think they should be ashamed of themselves. Anybody that's part of NATO should be ashamed of themselves. You send troops. They don't need bullets. They got bullets. Apparently they got tanks now because they took a bunch of Russian tanks.
Damn farmers.
Send troops. Yeah, they got grandma, and you don't know, like I said, you're not fighting the Ukrainian military. You're fighting the Ukrainian people at this point. You're fighting them, not their military.
Martial law was declared. I support the idea of sending troops. I'm not going to say I support it. I think, honestly, with the way NATO is, I do think they should be ashamed for themselves for their response. But honestly, with the way NATO is recently and some of these world leaders, I honestly think if NATO went in there, it would just make things worse. Not necessarily conflict-wise with Russia amping things up now that NATO's involved. And, China, honestly, is on Russia's side or has historically been on Russia's side. They haven't officially said it, but they've kind of condemned what's going on.
Well, yeah, because they don't want to get sanctioned.
Exactly. So, in the end of the day, I don't think there's a huge issue of, at the beginning of this, I would say, well, there's an issue that World War III might start here. As it stands currently, I don't think it is. I have a feeling that not conflict-wise of actual fighting, but political-wise and honestly creating more terror for Ukrainians, I think if NATO got involved, it would just make things worse. Again, not on the front lines, but logistically and just overall for the good people, the Ukrainians, right? I think it would just create a bigger issue for them. Like you said, Ukraine's, I'm impressed. They're doing a great job. And
hell yeah, who would have ever thought that a bunch of, their military is not that great. It's not that big. It's not a superpower or even it's not considered anything.
How their president's a former actor. Like Reagan. Exactly,
And look what Reagan did. He managed to somehow get the Berlin Wall toppled. He ended the Soviet Union. He put a stop to the Cold War. This is where people that aren't politicians make changes, and he's not scared to be out there on the front line saying, "All right, let's go. If I'm going down, so are you."
Yep. And I support everything he's doing because, like you said, he is out on the front lines. He's doing what his people are doing. He's being proactive. He's trying to get this solved just as quick as everyone else wants to.
Honestly, the reason that I think NATO needs to step in and it's because of Belarus, right? They're mounting their military. They have, last I heard, 100,000 soldiers ready to go into Ukraine. Now, if you read that the wrong way, that means that you got 100,000 more people going to support Russia because the president of Belarus, who just so happened to have hosted these past couple summits here like a week or two ago for peacekeeping.
How ironic.
Yeah, and that ironic now is going to send 100,000, probably plus at this point. Who knows when you're going to listen to this, but send them into Ukraine. What are they going to go in there for? And they're going to fight both sides? No, they're going to take Putin's side.
Exactly.
Because Ukraine, everybody wants Ukraine. I don't know why. They think they're going to form some major coalition of their own. That's why I think NATO is making a fool of themselves. They needed to step up and say, you know what, Ukraine, you guys are not. You're a part of European, the EU or whatever the hell it is. But because of what this aggression is showing, we're going to send people and we're going to try to stop this. You could put sanctions on everybody. Do you think Putin gives a shit about sanctions?
No, he doesn't.
He could care less. He's looking at us going, "Ha, you fools, you ain't got no gas now, what?"
Yeah.
Here we are going, yep, as citizens going, well, I guess paying $5 a gallon for gas ain't too bad. No, it sucks.
I just filled up yesterday, $4.35.
Well, here in PA where I live, it's $4.39 a gallon.
Yeah. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
It is. I do think that people to backtrack a little, I think Ukraine is wanted for really two reasons. There is that oil pipeline that is coming from Russia that goes through Ukraine. And then secondly, they control a large port in Odessa, right on the Black Sea, which is a major trading market. If you look at geographically, you got Russia, you got Ukraine, you got Bulgaria, you got Turkey, you got this, major strait that leads right through Istanbul to Greece and then out to the Mediterranean where you can literally go anywhere. So they do have a huge port there in Odessa that was one of the targets from Russia right to begin with.
Well, if you, like you said, geopolitically, there's two different things that it works in Russia's benefit to take over that, right? Is one, Ukraine is like the second or third leader in like grain exports or some goofy thing like that.
They got a lot of farmland, and that goes right along with these farmers are kicking some ass.
But here's the thing. If let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that the world says, who cares? And Russia goes in there and demolishes Ukraine and takes over. These sanctions that are put in place right now, is that going to be the new Cuban embargo? Like are we not going to do trade with them, and we're going to try to encourage the rest of the world that we do trade with to say, can you grow grain? Can you grow the stuff that we used to get from here at this price? Can you give it to us at the same price or a comparable price? Are we just going to say, oh, Putin, I'm sorry, didn't mean to sanction you. Can we get some of that grain real quick?
Yeah, I think over time, and it's like with anything, right? If that does happen, there is going to be some slack that's picked up by neighboring countries or even ourselves. But again, it's not going to be enough, right? You might only pick up a quarter of it. And that's not enough, quite frankly. I mean, it's not enough now. So,
well, I think the solution to our problem, honestly, to the United States' problem, never mind all this like trade export bull crap that's going on. I think the United States' problem right now is it comes down to two words. If you can compound the two words and put them together to fix the problem, it's Keystone Pipeline. Correct.
I do think that is one of the biggest problems. But I do think the other problem is the lack of interest in this country. I'm a younger person, and I graduated 4 years ago, going on 4 years ago from high school. Spent a lot of time in college now, going on year 4, and I've seen two types of people in my age range. People like myself that are out working hard, that are working 40 hours a week or going to school full time to get a job and working. And then I've also seen the people that sit on their butts all day, do absolutely nothing, get 3 hot meals brought to them while they're sitting on the couch, playing video games, watching movies, and doing absolutely nothing.
Where can I get on that list?
Exactly. I wish. But some of us have bills to pay, don't you know? So, one category greatly outweighs the other, and I'll let you take a swing at that one and what you think. But
you want my opinion? I think, all right, here we go. We're already far enough into this. I think if you don't want to get off your ass and get an education and try to learn how to provide for yourself, the government shouldn't give you a fucking thing.
Oh, I agree.
I think you should be living in Los Angeles so that they could sweep your ass off the street when they're going to host the Super Bowl.
Yep.
That's what they should do.
I don't even think you need to get an education. Go to a trade school. You don't even go to a trade school. Go and just be a productive member of society, right? You can learn anything. It's not that hard. If you put your mind to it and you put the time and effort, you can learn anything.
Well, I would agree with you. And as an American, I got to say this. Our government made it too easy to not want to.
Agreed.
You want money? That's okay. You don't need it. Here, we'll give you money. We'll just write it off and the taxpayers will pay for it. Well, I'm a taxpayer. Like, I don't mind paying for people for food stamps and all this shit. But I also think that at the same time, somebody has to be held accountable for this.
It's got to go to the people that truly need it, is what it needs to do. Because
there's no accountability. There's no accountability.
No, not at all.
I see people in the grocery store. I go to work, bust my ass, go to the grocery store. I see people buying big bags of shrimp and
yeah,
lobster tails on food stamps.
Exactly.
I can't afford that for going to work.
Yeah, and not to mention alcohol and cigarettes and all this other stuff.
Hold on. I got to stop you there because I smoke and I drink, but I pay for it with cash.
Exactly. No, they're using food stamps. Or these, they're not even food stamps anymore. They're food credit cards. Like you just and start swiping and you're good.
Well, you also got to think, right? There's also people that are, I get $500 or whatever. I don't even know what the hell they give in food stamps. I don't know what the range is. But they sell it for cash. They say, all right, I'll give you 200
and then they go
food stamps.
Then they go to McDonald's 5 days a week, 3 times a day. And
it's not just that. Like, all right, hey, Matt, I got $500 in food stamps. I got $500 in food stamps, Matt. I'll sell you 200 of it for $100 in cash.
Yep.
You give me $100 in cash, now I get to go buy my heroin, my meth, whatever the hell it is these people are doing.
Correct.
That they need to start piss testing people on food stamps.
And that all circles back to the problems we have here. So if something doesn't, if Russia does end up taking Ukraine, I find it unlikely that will happen with the effort we've seen from Ukraine, but burnout's real. It can happen. A flip of a switch can happen. But if that does, if Russia does take Ukraine, and we have to start finding other ways to get imports and whatnot, if we're not going to do trade with Russia, if we're going to continue that, there's going to be a lot of people in this country that are not going to be happy with what's coming their way. We can't continue to sit around and supply people on food stamps. They're just going to sit there and do nothing if we don't have the food to supply everyone already, or we don't have the gas, or we don't have whatever it is.
All right. Okay. So speaking of that, like you say something like that. Now, obviously here in the United States, we have a system that we have to go by, whether we agree with it or we disagree with it. We have this system, and ultimately there's a final judge. And that's the Supreme Court. What is your view on this Judge Brown Jackson, whatever her name is? I'm not even sure how to pronounce her name, which don't hate me for that, but I'm not really good at speaking normal people language or foreign language.
I got some mixed opinions.
Only thing she got from me is she grew up in Miami.
Yeah, she did grow up in Miami. She was born in D.C., grew up in Miami. Both parents grew up during segregation-ish times. They went to segregated schools and whatnot. So she does have some history of some mistreatment in the family. And, she would be only the third justice of color appointed to the bench. She would be the first female justice of color appointed.
Hold on. I just got to stop you there. Why does that matter?
I don't know if it necessarily matters for...
If you're best for the job, it don't matter if you're brown, white, or candy stripe.
I would agree with you there. What I think they're trying to do, actually two things, is one, make it a more diversified bench so that it just looks like the country it serves. There isn't... I don't know the exact statistic. I would have to look it up. I don't know the exact population number of how many African Americans are in this country, what percentage that is to Hispanic, white, or any other race out there. But I think they are trying to make it or their goal was to try to make it a more diversified bench so that it reflects the country that it serves. But I also think they're trying to get a different background. We've seen justices like Amy Coney Barrett and even Brett Kavanaugh predominantly conservative.
They're conservative. Yeah.
They have conservative views.
But what is conservative? What does that mean? I
don't even know anymore, to be honest with you. Everything, even conservative and liberal, both of them have changed so much, even in the past 4, even 8 years.
Here's my view on this. Right? They're all pimps, all of them, every last one of them. Doesn't matter. Okay, I voted for Obama. I voted for Trump. Those are exactly two opposites of each other. They're polar opposites.
Yeah.
I didn't vote this last time because I already knew that something was probably not going to go so good, so I just didn't even bother. Now I'm going to get January 6th. They're going to investigate me. But So here's my take on it is I believe that whoever the president is at the time, they have a constitutional right.
Correct.
That they have to appoint somebody at that point, right?
Correct. Yeah,
So,
I agree with you on that.
Okay, so when they appoint somebody, you can't tell me they're looking out for the country's best interest. I'll call bullshit. I think they're looking out for their party's best interest. So they want somebody that views the country their way.
Through their lens, essentially.
Right. So whenever something big comes up, whether it's because we're the land of the free and the home of the brave, right? So, and liberty to all.
Correct.
But that's a crock of shit too. They appoint people that they believe will vote that party's,
In
whether
favor.
they're conservative or liberal. Yeah, they're going to go that way. It's not. There's people that throw the bench off kilter. That whole Supreme Court gets thrown off kilter because something big will happen in the country and it'll get sent to the Supreme Court for a decision. And most of the time, it's whether it's the death penalty type shit.
Yeah.
The only time that it comes up anything bigger than that is whether the president screwed up or didn't screw up.
Pretty much.
And it's usually deadlocked one way or the other. There's no verdict. So the Supreme Court, while they need to be respected for their position, honestly matter nothing.
Yeah, the Supreme Court's, it's obviously the highest court in the land. Essentially what they say goes. We've seen that numerous times with specifically recently obviously the death penalty, like you said, abortion's been a big one that they've covered. Even recently with gun rights for 3D printed guns and what they call ghost guns and all these other things. They've been in, seems like every day you hear something about a Supreme Court ruling that's pretty major. So,
now, in my lifetime, the first time that I ever heard anything or even cared about the Supreme Court, I was still too young to care, but I was old enough to know better.
Yeah.
Was Bush v. Gore.
Oh, yeah.
2001.
Yep.
That was the first time in the United States, I believe. I'm probably wrong. If I'm wrong, whatever, criticize me.
Tweet them.
But I believe that was the first time in the U.S. history that the Supreme Court decided who was the president of the United States.
Yeah,
because Bush
did the
whole Bush did the whole shit for the recount, and it came down to Florida, and they did the recount, and Supreme Court said Bush won.
Yep.
And good on Al Gore for not being a dick, I guess, and contesting it.
I guess that's the appropriate word to use.
Yeah, he could have been a dick and contested it, and maybe he was the president.
You never know. The world will never know.
He said, whatever, you won, whatever, let's move on.
Yeah. So, back to this justice. Justice, or I should say justice, judge currently, Judge Jackson. She does have a history of some pretty impressive stuff. Let me start backwards and I'll work up to modern day. So, like I said, she grew up in Miami, went to pretty, public school. All that, wasn't in private school, whatnot, and got her law license. For the longest time, she was a court clerk for which she would be replacing Justice Breyer, who is retiring at the end of this year, supposedly. So she would be replacing the person she worked under for numerous years. She was also a public defender. Now, she would be the first public defender to serve on the court. She was a very well-known federal public defender, and she's got a history of defending some pretty big cases. I won't go into too many of them, or really any of them here, because that would take a lot of time. But she does have a history of being a really good public defender on the federal side of things. Not just local criminal cases in the county or even state. We're talking federal cases here that she went to federal courts and did it all pro bono, at free as a public defender. She was, from being a public defender, she was nominated by President Obama, confirmed with a bipartisan support from the Senate, to serve as the vice chair of the U.S. Sentencing Commission, which essentially, long story short, they take and look at sentencing on the federal level and say, okay, does this sentence match the crime that happened? If it does, great. If not, we're going to look into this and see if there's any disparities that we can change and alter to make this more fair, so on, they say. She did that from 2010 to 2014. Under Obama as well, at the end of her time with the Sentencing Commission, end of 2013, early 2014, she was appointed and then confirmed again with bipartisan support to the U.S. District Court in D.C., in Washington, D.C., to serve there. And then also got a promotion under President Biden last year in 2021 when he was appointed, or when he was elected president. Also confirmed with, again, a bipartisan support in the Senate to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia for Washington, D.C. So she's got a pretty good record here. You know, she's served in 2 high courts in the D.C. metropolitan area. Also served as the Sentencing Commission vice chair, looking at numerous sentencing issues and disparities across every federal law. And she does have, a pretty good record of understanding defendants and where they stand from the public side. She's essentially been on both sides of the law without being a prosecutor. And I think that somewhat makes her a fairly decent and somewhat well-rounded candidate to have some qualifications to be a Supreme Court nominee. Now, I personally didn't look too much into the other people that President Biden was considering. I just didn't have the time to do that back when he was making decisions. But from what I see here, at least, she does have a pretty good, rap sheet of things that benefit her.
I gotta honestly say that I feel like this whole thing it's a dog and pony show.
Oh, I agree.
Before we started recording, I had asked you, to look up the year that I was born to see how many. In my lifetime, I've never seen somebody get not approved to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Because
usually in a 4-year term, every 2 years of that term, that's why they're called midterms, there's always an election. And usually whoever's president, their political party has the midterm, whether it's 2 or 2.
Yep.
The first 2 or the back 2. So whenever they put something through, they always wait till they have the majority to do so.
Correct, yes.
Now, my hope is that if this Judge Brown Jackson, I hope that regardless of anything, I hope that she's going to do what's right for not even the country, just the cases that come in front of her. If she has the intestinal fortitude to say, you know what, my party votes for this all the time, but this isn't politically correct.
And I think going with that, we saw today specifically Senator Susan Collins of Maine. Now, she is a senator swaying to the conservative side. She is a Republican, was elected under a Republican. The Senate's split 50-50 right now. There's a tiebreaker vote that goes to the vice president, who is a Democrat. But Susan Collins today said that because essentially the Judiciary Committee means nothing in this process, because they don't even need to vote in the Judiciary Committee to send the nomination over to the Senate. It doesn't have to happen. It can do it without it. So she said when the vote comes to the Senate floor to either confirm or not Judge Jackson, whether or not they're going to appoint her or not, she said she's gonna vote in favor, making it essentially as it stands right now. Again, we haven't heard from the other 49 Republicans and the 50 Democrats, although we can kind of guess and draw conclusions on where they're going to vote. Essentially making it a 51-49 vote. Now, she only needs 51 votes. It's not 60. It's only 51. It's just a simple majority.
Yeah, majority, yeah.
So that would eliminate the need for a tiebreaker, which we would know which way that would sway already. Essentially just waste time, to be completely honest.
Yeah, at that point, it's a formality. Now we're just going to waste time. If they already know they have the votes, they should just take the vote and get it over with.
Exactly. So, I mean, it could be the first of many Republicans to switch over. We don't know. But I think it does show some support from Republican side that maybe her rap sheet of history and of knowledge of the court system, both on the federal level and the state level, support her nomination to be on the Supreme Court. You know, I personally don't have many issues with her, to be honest. I hadn't heard of her until the nomination had come through from Biden. So I haven't done a whole lot of digging. But
I want to say, though, that, like, okay, you know, you say about Susan Collins voting for as a Republican. You also got to look at it both ways. I think the senators are finally opening their eyes, right? You got Joe Manchin, who is a Democrat, that says, I'm not supporting nothing Joe Biden puts in front of me because it's just a big ass earmark. There's so much money being spent for nothing. My only question, though, with this whole deal is the child porn sentencing thing. Like, is that not an issue? Like, where's this an issue at?
So that's been crammed down specifically by a couple senators, mainly Ted Cruz, who sits on the Judiciary Committee.
Well, you know what? He's a little bit eccentric sometimes.
He is, but I think he does have a couple points, and I haven't read into the case as much, but essentially what's going on with that whole thing is while she was a judge in the district court in D.C., there was, I believe it was 2, maybe 1 or 3. I believe it was 2, but I would have to double check. There was 2 cases that came across her. They were both child pornography cases, and she gave out a sentence that was lower than the recommended minimum standard on the federal level. Now, doing some research into it, it does show that there are a couple federal judges that were appointed by both Trump and Bush that had also done this a similar thing, giving sentences under the minimum standard, or recommended minimum standard, I should say, for the federal level.
And both of which you just mentioned were Republican presidents.
Correct. So I don't know. Again, I haven't done a whole lot of research. I haven't looked into the cases, like done a deep dive into them. But it does seem to be something that has been brought up quite a bit. There was numerous days of questioning on it in the Judiciary Committee, and it seems to be an important topic for some people. Do I think it's important for everyone? No. From what I've seen, it's only a couple people stickling on it, and one of them being Ted Cruz.
As a non-politician, let me just say, I have a daughter. Child porn, that's just saying those 2 words together is pretty bad. Like,
I agree.
You know, if I were to ever find out that somebody took nude pictures of my daughter and put them out on the internet, they're going to answer to me directly.
I agree. And
not the cops. And the last thing I need is a judge to say, oh no, you know, Bill, what you did by punching him in the nose, that was worse than the child porn stuff.
Yeah, you know, I don't agree with the sentencing. You know, we have minimum standards for a reason. And personally, you know, she sat on the commission, the sentencing commission that looked over these types of things, looked over to see if these minimum sentencing issues and whatnot were not only legal, but also valid and meant something, right? And were there on purpose before she even became a judge. So, you know, in the end of the day, she sat on this commission, and they clearly must have looked over this at some point, and she still believed that I need to go lower. I don't necessarily agree with that. Again, I haven't looked into the cases too much, but it is a major talking point and has been for the past couple of days of questioning in the judiciary's part.
Well, and we all have opinions on things, right? Like that's what makes this country the greatest country in the world. We all have our opinion. Whether we're right or wrong, we have our opinion.
And you know, opinions are some of the things that, you know, sometimes we should just keep our mouth shuts on.
Yeah, but me, that's
No.
not.
But I think that goes into something that we saw the other day as well.
Oh, this is so funny. I know what you're going into. You're going to talk about the whole Kid Rock or Chris Rock. Sorry, kid. That was the girliest bitch smack I've ever seen in my life.
I'm going to call this the slap of the decade, not because it was good, but because it's going to be talked with for the next 10 to 20 years.
Will Smith should be ashamed of himself for that smack.
First
off, let me just if you're listening to this, go back and watch the video of the smack. Now let me put things into perspective. This is the guy who portrayed Muhammad Ali in a movie and said that he went out and trained to be a boxer.
Yeah.
Look at his feet when he's delivering this bitch smack. This is the girliest smack. First off, Chris Rock, you know what? Give Will Smith's actor for best actor of the decade or whatever the hell it is. Give that to Chris Rock because Will Smith, he sold that better than Will Smith did.
Even though it was a bitch slap, Chris, he took that like a man. He just stood there and took it.
And I hope Jada Smith looked back and watched that. Because the whole time that was happening, Will Smith was laughing.
He was into it, and then he saw the look on her face and said, okay, maybe I should do something.
Yeah, but it wasn't bad enough that she cheated on him a bunch of times.
I know, right? Yeah.
Let's don't talk about that. Like, he's like, oh, keep my fucking wife's name out of your mouth, or however he said it. No. You were just laughing 30 seconds ago, buddy. You don't get to stand up and be a tough guy.
The history there is just amazing between those two.
Well, and that's the thing. There was a comedian that said that slap was an attack on all comedians. I wish I could get his name.
No, it wasn't. It was honestly an attack on Will Smith's personality. Like, as much as I understand that Jade has a disease that causes hair loss, I completely understand that.
And that's a horrible thing. That's a very bad affliction.
I completely understand that, and I understand why she would get mad. But in the end of the day, it's a joke. In the end of the day...
I don't even understand why she'd get mad. Here's why I don't understand why she'd get mad. She took to TikTok or Facebook or whatever the hell it was and made a video saying, this is why my head is shaved. This is the line going across my forehead where the hair won't grow no more.
As far as I'm aware,
she put that out there.
As far as I'm aware, she also said she doesn't care about people making fun or talking about. Yeah.
She went to the goddamn Oscars knowing that she was bald.
I honestly want to know who wrote that joke, though. I want to know if he wrote it or if one of there's a writer, like a little intern writer backstage. It's like literally crapping their pants.
Chris Rock. I believe that was all Chris Rock that came up with that on the fly. And the fact here's two facts to that whole thing that I think are nobody's talking about, which is a damn shame. But he made the joke about the whole G.I. Jane thing because, being in the military, you shave your head. Yep. To me, that's a compliment. Like, you're a badass motherfucker.
Oh, and if
you got your head shaved, you're badass for being here now.
If you look at the front of G.I. Jane, like the original, it's a woman, like, very tough, standing there, head shaved, like, ready to fight some people.
Yeah, I forget what her name was, but... damn it, I'm not even going to try to think of it. But, so, to me, what Chris Rock did was give Jada Smith a compliment by saying, I'm looking forward to G.I. Jane 2.
Yeah.
Meaning, even though your head's shaved, you're still a tough son of a bitch, and, I'm looking forward to your movie.
Yeah.
Will Smith, meanwhile, is laughing. And then if you look at the slow-mos, if you look at the slow-mos, you'll see that she rolls her eyes, and then all you hear is Chris Rock say, uh-oh, whatever the hell he said. And then here comes Will Smith walking like some kind of retarded robot. And he goes up and then gives him some kind of, I don't even know what that hand slap was. That wasn't even a slap.
Honestly, I think Will Smith was trying to do a drug trade-off with Chris Rock, and it just happened to hit his face instead of his other hand,
It was like a punch slap. It was like he meant to punch him, but his hand was open. And his feet weren't planted, so it was like a robotic. Because he smacked him, and it didn't hurt that bad. Because Chris Rock started laughing, and then Will Smith turned around and walked away. First off, that's your first mistake.
Yeah.
You ain't that tough. You ain't that scary. You smack me in the face like that, I'm jumping. I'm choking you out.
We talked about this earlier. Like,
Yeah,
you hit me.
You're going to sleep right in front of the world.
In front of millions of people. Yeah, it's not going to end good for you.
Yeah, whether or not.
At the end of the day, I think Chris Rock handled it amazing, though. Like, he just ate it and said, "Let's keep going. This guy, we got it. We're already over." I think they were like 13 minutes over time already. He's like, "I'm not holding this anymore. Let's go. Let's finish this thing."
Yeah, and if the Academy doesn't do something about it, then that just shows where the Academy is.
Yeah, I mean, and to give Will Smith some credit at the end, it wasn't shown on TV, but there are unedited clips that do show it. There was a commercial break that came up after, and some famous actors
with him and Denzel and Tyler Perry.
Yeah, and had a little chit chat, and I think something went through Will Smith's head because obviously he won the Academy Award there, and he was in tears. He mentioned some of the things that Denzel had talked to him about during that intermission. I do think he regrets it.
No, I don't. I honestly don't. And the reason I don't is because he stood up there and did his Hollywood crying bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I was put on this world to love people, and blah, 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 and I'm sorry to this, that." But he never said, "Sorry, Chris."
Yeah.
Never once did he say, "I'm sorry, Chris, for smacking you in the mouth in front of millions of people on live TV across the world."
Yeah. I mean, in the end of the day, I don't know. I know there's, as of right now, Chris Rock has denied pressing, he doesn't want to press charges.
That's why he should be handed Will Smith's Oscar.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because if that's me and you're a multimillionaire and I'm a multimillionaire and you just smacked me in the face on live TV,
yep.
I don't even need to prove my case at this point. Yeah. You just proved it for me. So give me that money.
How many witnesses you want me to call? Because I got a couple million.
Yeah, you just proved my case for me, buddy. So good on Chris Rock. I think, honestly, I think this is going to be, you're going to see a lot more of Chris Rock. I know he has dates coming up, like shows that he's going to do. Will Smith just made him millions of dollars because everybody's going to buy tickets to go to that show to hear him talk about getting smacked in the mouth by Will Smith.
That'll be a comedy bit.
Fresh Prince. Yeah, he went from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to now the homeless hobo of Los Angeles. Like,
you're not wrong.
You can't. Yeah, what he did was, all right. So Jada cheated on him a bunch of times. Then he went out in public and said they have an open relationship. They both have different partners. Okay, whatever. So you guys are swingers. Good for you. Whatever floats your boat.
Oh.
And then to be caught on camera. Here's the problem. Here's what makes it so bad. Is he was caught on camera 10 seconds before he stood out of the seat, laughing.
Rolling, yep.
Up to the jokes that Chris Rock was saying, even about his own wife, to getting up, doing that robotic walk where he knew that he was walking up there and didn't know what the hell he was doing, but he had to do something to make himself look like a man.
I'm pretty convinced he had no clue what he was going to do until he actually hit him.
Yeah, because you could tell by his feet.
Oh, yeah.
I've been in a lot of fights in my life.
Yes, you
have. And if I'm going to hit somebody, my feet are planted.
Yeah.
He walked up there and did like the...
He was ready to
he didn't miss a stride.
Swimming pool, essentially.
Yeah, he didn't miss a stride. He walked up there. He did the open hand punch, bitch slap, heard round the world, about faced and walked right back to his seat. And then he talked shit and said, "Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth."
Yeah.
What?
Listen,
dude, you go up there and grab him by the neck and say that.
If that doesn't get put on a t-shirt and sold at like every state fair in the world, I got nothing better.
How can you, first off, me as a man, cannot walk up to another man and girly smack him in the face?
That's just, it's disappointing, honestly.
And then about face, and have enough confidence that this guy ain't going to jump on my back, and then go back to your seat and talk shit.
Aren't they all actors? Shouldn't he have at least made that look good? He just won an award for best actor. So
he won that award later in the night, which now that's why the Academy's saying, "Oh, maybe we're going to take that away from him."
Well, we'll see.
But what about what's that guy's name? Epstein?
Oh,
Yeah, didn't he win some academies?
He won. He won some. Alec Baldwin. They're saying if Will Smith get taken away, Alec Baldwin should for shooting that.
I believe that's a different situation. Will Smith, if nothing else, Will Smith made a dick out of himself.
Yeah, well,
but
we'll
Alec Baldwin actually killed somebody, so there's a difference there. Did
you hear quick off topic? I'm not going to go too much into it because we're getting close on time here. Did you hear his wife's pregnant again? 7th child.
Whose?
Alec Baldwin's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 30. I think he's 60 something. She's 38, and she's pregnant again. 7th child coming their way.
Oh, that's right. I remember seeing the meme on that. They're going to name their kid Hunter.
I wouldn't be surprised. I could say one thing though. He's definitely not shooting blank. So.
No, he's definitely not shooting. I don't know if that was a joke or a pun, but that was pretty good.
It was a little bit of both, but yeah. I wonder if that could be used in evidence in a murder trial.
Yeah, hey, here's my son Hunter. He could prove to you I'm not shooting blanks. Here we go.
It's certainly been fun for the first episode, and man, that pun was horrible.
Puns aren't meant to be great, right?
No, they're really not. But that was a whole new level right there.
Hey, y'all, I appreciate y'all listening. This is great. We're going to be around every Monday. We plan on launching new episodes every Monday at the same time. I'm not sure when you're going to hear this, time zones and all, but
go
ahead and give us some love, Matt. Tell them where they can reach us at.
Yeah, so every Monday it's going to be releasing on all major podcasting platforms, from Anchor to Spotify to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast. I mean, you name it, it's going to be on there. And then every Tuesday, there's going to be the version coming out on YouTube. Not I should say edited version. It's going to have some little flares into it at some point.
Well, it's got to be edited because we don't want to get kicked off because we know how they are.
Yeah, you gotta add some content over there.
So half of what I just said tonight is just going to be a long beep.
Yeah, we're just gonna bleep it out a little, but anyway, it'll be all right. We'll get to that when we get to that. So that'll come out the day after on Tuesdays, and at some point there might be a couple mini episodes down the road. Who knows? There's a lot that can come down the road. So yeah, every Monday, follow us on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I forget the actual name of them. But there's like 9 or 10 different spots that you can find us. Follow us on YouTube. Give us a subscribe over there. Just Two Dudes with a View podcast. You can't miss it. It's gonna be fun every Monday, and we're gonna
let us know who your best host is. We want to have this internal competition and know which one of us two you like better.
It's definitely me. Just say.
It's me because I'm the asshole. They gotta like me better.
There's going to be some crowds, you might get, and if you do want to comment or whatnot, down the road we'll have a suggestion box essentially that you can put out there. You can find on all of our platforms, but on YouTube specifically, if you're listening over there, or even if you're not and you just want to hop over, leave us a comment down below. Tell us who your best is. Tell us what you think, and your thoughts on any of the topics. We covered a lot, from NFL to new justices on the Supreme Court and major. I'm not going to call it a war, but a conflict to probably one of the, like I said, the slap of a decade. Yeah, we've covered all kinds of stuff tonight.
Let's just call it the bitch smack heard around the world.
There we go. I like it. So yeah, leave us a comment over there and tell us what you think.
And if you have any suggestions on any topics we should cover, hit us up on email. Send us an email at twodudeswithaview@gmail.com. That's the number 2. dudeswithaview@gmail.com.
And if you're up for it, there'll be a link in below for YouTube and all across our release platforms. We have a Discord. It is this show is being sponsored by Matthew Francis Media. So if you do want to join the Discord, you can talk with us there via text chat, voice chat, all kinds of stuff. We're on there daily and very active. So I'll drop those links down below and into our comment boxes and whatnot, so you'll be able to join us there. So I think that's all for this week. Bill, you got any last words for him?
Yeah, I'm running out of beer here, Matt. We gotta get going. I gotta get to the store here.
Is it beer 30 yet for you?
It's getting close, yeah.
All right.
I'm on the last one. We gotta get going.
With that being said, we'll talk at you next week, and hope you have a good rest of your week and a great weekend to come. Enjoy, everyone.